person doesn't have to do anything, but you're kind of trusting the mailman to get it to the other location. So that's the easiest way to think about it. And there are reasons that you would use that.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the use for UDP is for real-time streaming applications. So for like YouTube or stuff like that, when it sends you, or just any kind of video that's streaming, pretty much you can't like wait for data to be sent and reassembled in the right order, because by the time you reassemble it, it's already too late. The whole idea behind it is it's real time, and since it's short, it's pretty much you just send a bunch of packets out for UDP, and you hope that they get there in the right time when you don't. Well, that's kind of like the effect of when you kind of get like lag and like buffering and such like that, as opposed to TCP where it's in order and it's used for mostly everything else, where pretty much you kind of take your time. It takes a while for things to load and such. You can use that time to kind of reassemble things and such. And as mentioned, both TCP and UDP are like, I guess it's not put up there in UDP, but both of them kind of ride on IP, which is on a layer below, and IP stands for Internet Protocol, and pretty much that is just the IP addresses. The most familiar thing that we're used to is pretty much things that are like 192.168.10. Whatever. Pretty much things that are in that form are known as formally IPv4 address. Each of the numbers are separated by a dot. There's like 4 of them, and those numbers go between 0 to 255. For the technical savvy, pretty much what it is it's just a 32-bit number, and you're splitting it into 8 bits each, which is how you get the 0 to 255. And pretty much there's 2 to the 32 of such addresses, like technically that are unique and available. Another term that people have thrown around is pretty much IPv6, which is using a 128-bit number, and that gives you 2 to 128 different unique addresses, or 3 times 10 to the 38th. And pretty much the reason for that is that there's a lot of people these days that are connected to the internet, and there's only so many unique IP addresses that are there to be given to people. And people have found ways to kind of delay that through pretty much one common technique people use to conserve on addresses is taking a single address and hiding a bunch of them behind it. Pretty much, in a nutshell, that's called network
address translation.
Yes, NAT.
So basically, it's a machine. It's like a router in really specific terms. That when a packet goes to it and it's addressed somewhere else, it kind of opens up the packet, puts its own address in there, and sends it somewhere else. So you can share IPs.
And pretty much that's kind of how private networks work. Like your home network, your router does the translation, and each person who connects to it is given a private address. So when you send stuff out, you go through it and it masks it and sends it out. And when things come back, they unpack it and put in the right things and send it back to the right person. So that's one way that you can kind of get around like conserving addresses. But even then, that can only get you
it's painfully slow. So I mean, that's actually an interesting thing to test. Like if you have a Linksys router at home, connect your computer directly to the modem, see how fast it's going, and then connect it to the behind the router. Just because it's just like every single packet that goes through, it's going to have to check the packet and change the addressing and everything. So it's a very slow process.
But yeah, pretty much the reason why. So IPv6, by just kind of expanding by like quite a huge number of addresses, kind of would solve a lot of things. But the reason why that's kind of been something that's in play is that it would break a whole ton of things, because a lot of things these days are kind of like coded strictly for like just IPv4 addresses, and it'd just be a very big mess to kind of convert all of that over today.
Because a lot of things in the operating system are just hard-coded IP addresses, even though in theory they should be using names, alias addresses, and then you see a KV address. You very literally base your programs on the fact that an IPv4 is shaped in the way it is.
Pretty much the design of it, the internet protocols and a lot of things in computers wasn't exactly future-proof. Like they kind of came out with it like, yeah, this should last like a while, but
well, I don't think they figured that it would just be a few computers talking to each other.
Yeah.
Everyone would have their own private networks and would not have to like connect networks together. So.
Yeah, pretty much they never expected to kind of expand to like the scale we are now, where you have like a bunch of people, internet just taking for granted.
And also they need to have unique IPs at different points.
But yeah, it's an interesting topic, honestly, like how that's going and how it's going to be dealt with in the future. Finally, there's the application layer. That's pretty much difficult with handling things. One of it is domains, which are pretty much the names of internet addresses you see, so such as you see www.ocf.edu or just whatever your site is. Pretty much that's managed by an organization called ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, and they're the ones who pretty much manage how the translation, the assignment of who gets to own what, and the translation between the name to the IP address. That is protocols, DNS protocols, there are pretty much machines that you talk to whenever you decide to make any kind of site or whatnot. It basically takes the URL that you're passing and tries to figure out the exact IP address. It goes going from right to left, because up top you have all the big name domains like edu, gov, com, and such. They're like pretty much like the big ones, and each of those just forwards off from where it needs to go from the next domain. So for something like this, you would talk to edu first, and edu is gonna go and kind of look and see if it knows where Berkeley is, and it's gonna not. It won't know where it is, but it knows who knows. So it moves it off to like Berkeley, and then it gets like the machine that knows Berkeley, and Berkeley or Berkeley.edu. And Berkeley is gonna be like, well, do I know where like OCF lives? And it's like, well, no, I don't. But I know who does. Finally, you forward that off to like the OCF. And the OCF gets it, and it's like, oh, do I know where www is? And it's like, no, I don't. But I know who does. And when it finally gets to www, then you kind of handle things from there. But pretty much, it's kind of like a whole right to left thing from the top, from like the big name servers, like the edu and comms, go again. And that's just kind of like DNS. So other protocols that there are like web browsers, HTTP, pretty much. Kind of related to the DNS and such is like when you browse websites and such, things like that. More or less, what you're really doing is you're just kind of looking on files on a different machine that are kind of just formatted in such a way that your web browser can understand. So you kind of one weird way you can kind of think of it, the World Wide Web is essentially like a web browser being kind of like a file explorer you see, and the content you see are kind of just opening files on another person's site. The other popular common protocol you have is mail, pretty much sending email, which is through things such as SMTP, which is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. I'm not POP3. POP3, pretty much the things that deal with sending email. And finally, there's also P2P things, which we all love and enjoy because that's kind of how we get our nice free R-rated material, such as BitTorrent, Nutella, Usenet, Winning, Skype. Most of those are pretty much file sharing servers. But yeah, these are kind of the three main points of what lies on the application layer. But there's like a lot more out there. These are just the main ones. And random other tidbits of knowledge to know. So firewalls, well, are pretty much things that are kind of like your guard dogs that pretty much mediate what goes in and what goes out. Pretty much, if you have one set up, it's usually set up. You can have one set up on your own application, but you can also have one set up on the router. Pretty much, what happens there is you set up things to make sure you can allow certain traffic through and certain traffic not. Yes, the main use for it is for companies. Most of the time, companies have their own little private internal connection known as their intranet, and they don't want other people listening into it. So pretty much they set up a firewall. So pretty much they monitor only connections inside can reach other connections that are there. Because pretty much the firewall is something you have to pass through when you make any kind of connection. And things coming out from the outside are typically locked. There are ways to get around it, such as things called like tunnel rules and stuff. Pretty much firewalls you think of as kind of the guards protecting things going in and out and making sure things are all cool. Network services are